The Cincinnati Reds are seemingly a team that always has high expectations. They saw a ton of people jump on their bandwagon and pick them as dark horses that come out of the National League last year, with many saying they could win the division. And for this coming season, they got the same kind of narratives floating around their ball club. But before we get into the 2025 season, let's see just how the Reds got to this point. Let's go back to 2021, a year that gave fans hope but ultimately ended in disappointment. The Reds finished 83-79, a respectable record, but not enough to crack the playoffs, despite having over a 73% chance by Fangraphs in late August. On the offensive side, they had some names such as an aging 37-year-old Joey Votto, who led the team with 36 homers with a 140 WRC+, alongside NL Rookie of the Year Jonathan India, who led this lineup with 4.1 FWAR. They also had a duo in the outfield of Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker, who matched 58 homers, alongside other notable position players being Tyler Naquin, Tyler Stevenson, Kyle Farmer, Eugenio Suarez, and TJ Friedl. This lineup finished just below league average that season with a 95 OPS plus as a unit, putting them 17th in the league and smoking 222 homers, which is good for 7th in the MLB. But on the pitching side, it was a stellar starting rotation that led the way, with Luis Castillo, Tyler Mahle, and Wade Miley posting below 4 ERAs, and Sonny Gray even posting a productive year with a 4.19. This staff was so good, it tallied the second most WAR out of any other starting staff, only behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. The downside was the bullpen that could only put up the 17th WAR as a unit and brought this team ERA down to a total of a 4.4, which was well below league average. Then came 2022. In the offseason, they saw key departures in a fire sale offseason, the first being Nick Castellanos hitting free agency and leaving for the Phillies, Wade Miley being released and picked up by the Chicago Cubs, and then they sent Sonny Gray to the Twins, along with a package deal sending Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez to the Mariners. All of these moves led to a bare-bones Reds roster headed into the season, and that's why they saw a 3-22 start that eventually led to their disastrous finish of 62-100 and being one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Along with the offseason fire sale, a trade deadline one came as well, sending away key pitchers Luis Castillo, who brought in a haul from the Mariners, with top prospects Edwin Arroyo, Andrew Moore, and Noelvi Marte, along with Tyler Mahle being sent to Minnesota for Christian Encarnacion Strand and Spencer Steer. Other notable names that were traded were previous offseason pickups Tommy Pham and Brandon Drury, along with Tyler Naquin. The saving grace of this horrid season was following that trade deadline, the Reds had the 4th best farm system by MLB Pipeline rankings, and it was pretty stacked, including names like Hunter Green, who did start 20 games in 2022, Nick Lodolo, who got to start 19, and then a plethora of high-rated prospects in names like Elly De La Cruz, Matt McClain, Edwin Arroyo, Noelvi Marte, Andrew Abbott, Brandon Williamson, Spencer Steer, and Christian Encarnacion Strand. Damn, that's a lot of good prospects. 2023 marked what everyone thought would be a turning point, mostly because everyone got to witness a ton of these young guys get their chance. TJ Friedl broke out a little bit this year, leading the team in WAR at 3.6, alongside Matt McClain, who came up and in just 89 games was able to post 3.6 WAR with a 127 OPS+. Spencer Steer, who manned a ton of positions for this roster, played in 158 games and came out with 3 WAR as well. This all came aside the emergence of guys like Elly De La Cruz and Will Benson, who both exploded onto the scene with crazy homers from Benson and an insane speed and power combo from Elly that resulted in a cycle in just his 15th career game. Along with this, we had Noelvi Marte, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and even Jake Fraley broke out this year. All of this, and still having names like Tyler Stevenson and Jonathan India in the lineup, it looked great for the future. The young staff wasn't as great though, as the only arm that posted below a 4.5 ERA was Andrew Abbott, who dropped a 3.87 ERA. With the inconsistency of the young guys and a few injuries, this led to them only being 22nd in WAR. But the bullpen was a huge plus, and part of the reason this team was able to get 82 wins is they had the most WAR out of any bullpen at 4.6, with names like Lucas Sims, Ian Gabout, Alex Young, and the closer Alexi Diaz. With all this young talent in the lineup, along with a young starting rotation and one of the best bullpens in baseball, prior to the 2024 season, the Reds got to work adding more to this team, as they started by adding 2 pitchers in Nick Martinez and Emilio Pagan. Martinez to help in the rotation, and Pagan to bolster the bullpen. Next, they would add a switch-hitting third baseman in Jeimer Candelario, and a move everyone saw as a complete plus for the Reds. And then they brought in Frankie Montas for depth, Brent Suter for a lefty in the pen, and Santiago Espinal was traded for from the Blue Jays for depth, I guess. I really don't know what he was brought in for. With all this on the big league roster, along with a farm system that was still 11th in baseball by MLB Pipeline, people started to think the Reds' takeover was imminent, and they became a very popular pick to become the winners of the NL Central, and a few people even had them in a race for battling for that National League crown. Well, the expectations weren't exactly set too high, but fate definitely wasn't on the Reds' side. To start, Christian Encarnacion Strand was expected to take a jump forward, but was mostly injured, only getting to play 29 games. TJ Friedl saw injuries as well, only playing 85 games, and the worst of all was Matt McLain missing the whole season with a torn labrum. Along with the injuries, the lineup saw some disappointing performances, with Noelvi Marte and Will Benson struggling and dropping negative WAR, and the new additions in Jeimer Candelario and Santiago Espinal weren't much better, posting negative WAR as well. And even Spencer Steer and Jake Fraley posted below a 100 OPS+, and that's why this group of position players posted the third worst WAR at negative 14.8 and the fourth worst OPS+ at 88. On a brighter note, the starting rotation was miles better than the previous years, posting 9.4 WAR to make them the second most valuable staff in the league behind Hunter Green, who took a huge step forward, lowering his ERA to 2.75. Andrew Abbott also followed up 2023 with another good year, posting a 3.7 ERA, and outside of this combo, Nick Martinez had a good first year with a 3.10 ERA and starting 16 games and pitching in 42 overall. And we even got to see Rhett Lauder, a Reds top prospect that was picked in 2023, come up and make his debut and pitch in 6 games to a 1.17 ERA. The bullpen also stayed afloat, posting the 9th most WAR, all while missing some key arms from the season prior in Ian Gabutt and Alex Young, but some good arms stepped in like Buck Farmer, Brent Suter, and Sam Mull, along with Alexi Diaz still being serviceable and Lucas Sims as well. Despite the plus sides, the lineup's injuries and poor performance was too much to handle, and the Reds ended up at 77 and 85, and this all resulted in the firing of the longtime manager, David Bell. And this all brings us to present day. We sit 8 days out from the Reds' first game as I write this script, and the Reds once again seem to have high expectations, mostly due to their change in manager from switching from David Bell to Terry Francona, which I personally love, as if the future Hall of Famer can't make this team win, I don't know what will. In the offseason, I think this team just made all the right moves. Jonathan India had been a good ball player, but with the amount of talent waiting, it was understandable to trade him for an arm in Brady Singer from the Royals. Along with this, they reinforced the bullpen, bringing in Scott Barlow and Taylor Rogers, and the lineup got some depth pieces who are pretty solid as well in Austin Hayes, Gavin Lux, and Jose Trevino. Unfortunately, that depth is very much needed, as Tyler Stevenson along with Spencer Steer are already expected to miss opening day, and that seems to be the biggest problem for the Reds. Is everyone going to be able to stay healthy for this season? If so, the lineup looks great, with Elly De La Cruz being the main piece at shortstop. With his insane power and speed, it is able to alter any game. And alongside him at second base is Matt McLain, who I think people are going to be reminded of how good he is, and he's going to build on that 2023 season that he showed. The same goes for TJ Friedl. If healthy, is he going to show that 2023 wasn't a fluke and that he can be a great center fielder in this league? And then Christian Encarnacion Strand needs to show that his bat is going to be what he has been hyped up for, with many thinking this can be a 30-plus homer type of guy. And even with the injuries, they have good pieces outside of the key guys, with Jeimer Candelario still there, which I still have hope he can be good. Gavin Lux, a newcomer from the Dodgers, who had a great second half last year. Jake Fraley can hopefully get above a 100 WRC plus again. And another new face in Austin Hayes looks to move into this ballpark and get himself back over a 100 WRC plus. And when you get Tyler Stevenson and Spencer Steer back, those are two guys who have shown they can be productive all year round as well. The starting rotation has no real holes. Hunter Green at the top had a great season last year. Now, I would expect some regression because of his underlying numbers, and along with the number 2 guy, Brady Singer, coming over from Kansas City, he also might see regression from a 2024 season that saw him post a 3.71 ERA because of some suspicious batted ball numbers and expected stats. But the 3 through 5 is one of the better ones in the league, with Nick Lodolo, who everyone is just waiting on to be healthy for a season to see if he can really break out, Nick Martinez, who's just a consistent righty that can fill any role that's needed of him, and Andrew Abbott, who has posted back-to-back sub 3.8 ERAs. And the bullpen on paper doesn't have anything too flashy, but they did lose a few arms, 2 bigger ones being Buck Farmer and Lucas Sims, along with Fernando Cruz, but then they added Taylor Rogers, who had a 2.4 ERA last season, and Scott Barlow, who had a 4.25. And like I said, nothing truly stands out, but they just have a ton of guys who get it done, like Tony Sandelin, Brent Suter, Sam Mull, and they still got Alexi Diaz, Emilio Pagan, and Graham Ashcraft moving into the bullpen, which I really like as a move because he just needs to give up his sinker and cutter and just throw a four-seamer with that dirty slider. All of this with a farm that still ranks 11th in baseball, with guys like Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder just waiting to pitch in the big leagues, along with position players Sal Stewart, Cam Collier, Edwin Arroyo just waiting for spots to open up. There's just so many bright spots. So here we are again, the Reds seemingly in a great spot in a weaker NL Central once again, and this lineup that is super young and seemingly very productive, along with a young staff that, barring injuries as well, can be a great 1 through 5. And then you have the bullpen, and if it can produce like it did the past 2 seasons, this team has no holes. Along with the new manager and future Hall of Famer Terry Francona coming in, it's the question I have on my mind. Will the Reds disappoint again in 2025, or will every piece fall into the right place and we'll finally see what the Cincinnati Reds can be? Time will only tell. Thank you guys for watching, and since you did make it this far, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.